again, world. It's me, Stephanie, and I'm here to show you my favorite books and series and everything. That's why my bookshelf looks weird. I had to take them out. Again, also, if my uploading schedule suddenly goes to shit, I've been having a bit of a depressive episode lately, so I'm not feeling very motivated. But I'm trying to get over that by making videos and doing something I enjoy. So, yeah. First, we're going to talk about my all-time favorite, which I gushed about in my first video, I believe. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I love John Green's writing. I love this book. There's a reason I'm reading it for the 18th time. It's just such a beautiful love story and a beautiful story of love and loss. And it's just so well written. You can feel like Hazel. She has such a personality in the book. And you never get bored listening to her talk. There is the one scene where they kiss in the Anne Frank house, and I'm like, don't like that. But everything else is just a beautiful book, and I would highly recommend it. It is incredible. I love it so much. Next up, Eliza and Her Monsters. I picked this up from my high school library my sophomore year because I was told to read a book in my English class. And I was like, okay, this looks interesting. And it was. So I bought it. It's about this girl who has this super successful webcomic who gets a new boy in her class that loves that webcomic and doesn't know that she's the creator. And when he finds out, it gets a little messy, but it gets better, and it is a wonderful story. The writing is beautiful. I love the quirky personality of the main character, and I love this book. As an online creator now myself, I know. As also I write fan fiction on Wattpad, I know what it's like to have people follow you for stuff. I don't have a lot of followers, but I mean, a few people have looked at my stuff. If you want to follow my Wattpad, it's the same username, but with no space between the L and the L is lowercase. So, yeah, if you want to follow my Wattpad and read my stories, do that, please. I want more people to read my shit. But yeah, so Eliza and Her Monsters. Definitely would highly recommend. My ukulele's right on the floor, so I just twanged it. That's what that was. Next, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. This book, I want my dad to read, because my dad does not believe in police brutality. I want him to see it from this point of view, because this book changed my point of view of the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm already a big supporter of that movement. I believe that all lives matter, but I actually believe that. So I believe Black Lives Matter. Ignore the car that just walked by. I'm not going to edit it out because I don't know how to fucking edit, but, ignore that. But, I'm one of those people who's like, all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. And this book is one of the reasons why I believe that. I read this in 2020 around the time where George Floyd died. I bought it and I was like, I need to read this book to get this perspective on it. It changed my perspective of the Black Lives Matter movement. It was incredible. It was so well written, and it shows the effect of these kinds of horrible situations on the Black community. I can't speak too much on that because I'm white as fuck. But just a few pages made me understand how devastating this can be to a community. And it made me want to go out and protest right away. But I don't have a car or anything to get to a protest, so I was not able to do that. But I wanted to go out and just start screaming at cops what the fuck, dude? Why are you killing innocent Black people? This book changed my perspective. Next, we have another personal, like, all-time favorite of mine, Carrie by Stephen King. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors. I could read his books for hours. My brother-in-law's parents have all of the Stephen King books in a big bookshelf in their living room. That's my future. Carrie is specifically my favorite because my best friend of like so many years, we met when we were 3, she actually got me into it. She talked about it so much and I was like, that's interesting, I'll have to check it out. So I bought the book and I read it in 3 hours and I fell in love. It is such a good book. It is so badass. It's so cathartic to see Carrie murder her entire class for bullying her. As someone who was bullied, it's very, very cathartic. It's very easy to see yourself as Carrie and just murder your whole class. Super fun. And it's not very scary. It's very much more of a slasher than a horror book. Unless, of course, you find, like, telekinesis scary. Which, it's not that scary. And, yeah. But it is more of a slasher. But it is very well written. Even though it's his first book, it is still very good. It is told in the perspective of, like, newspapers and interviews of students who were there and witnesses. And everything, like, reports and stuff like that. So it is told from the perspective of other people, not from the perspective of Carrie. It is very interesting. And I love it. I love it so much. Alright, we're getting into the series now. I didn't take this one off the shelf because I didn't want to have to hold all of them up because they're big books. So you gotta deal with this one. Another one I mentioned, I believe, in my first video, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I know it's problematic. I know there's a lot of shit in there that's not good. I know the way they treated the Native American tribe in the book is awful. And I can respect that and I can understand that. But also, I love Edward Cullen with all my heart. And I can acknowledge those while also enjoying the book. Because I know that needs to change. But I can also enjoy the book. Because it's a very good book to me. Because it's very easy to get into. It's very much escapism fiction. Bella Swan has a lot more sass in the book than she does in the movie. She has a lot more of a personality. She's very spunky. And it's super entertaining, and you feel like her because she can also be a very much of a blank slate when it comes to her appearance. So you can really just imagine yourself as Bella Swan. That's why I love it so much, because I want to date Edward Cullen because I fucking love Robert Pattinson. That's the only reason I want to go see the Batman. I wore a Team Edward shirt and I got glares from older white men, and I was like, fuck you, I love Edward Cullen. And now he's the Batman. I don't care. Ugh. But I'm definitely Team Edward. So if you're Team Jacob, get the fuck off my channel. I don't want to hear your arguments. I do not care about it. I am Team Edward through and through. That scene in Eclipse where Jacob kisses Bella without consent and Edward gets pissed because she didn't give him consent, that shit was hot. That shit was amazing. I fucking love that. As someone who's gone through shit where they've had their consent taken away, I fucking love that. So yeah, Twilight by I almost said Edward Cullen. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Edward Cullen did not write this book. That would have been funny if he did, but he did not. Next we have one. We're getting to the nitty gritty of this. I have 2 more series. The Maze Runner series by James Dashner. This holds such a place in my heart. I actually have the movie playing right now, the first one. I love the movies when I separate them from the books. I love them as 2 separate entities that happen to share the same name. But I love these books. Nooch is my favorite character, so if you say 250 in my comments, you're getting fucking deleted, and I swear to God I will cry. I love Newt. I read these in middle school with my friend, and we fell in love with these books. They're so good. So good. I love them. I even have the novella Crank Palace, but it's over there in my bedroom, and I really don't feel like getting up and getting it. So I just have the first 3 and then the prequel, and then I have the Fever Code downstairs, but again, I'm way too lazy to go downstairs and get it. But yeah, this is The Maze Runner. It's a dystopian novel about a bunch of boys who live in a giant maze, and they have to escape. And at night, the walls close and shift around, and inside the maze, there are these things called grievers that look like giant slugs with metal arms that do this. And they have to escape through a pit. It is very cool, very entertaining, can be slow at certain times, but also very fast at other times. And the second book is very good. The second book and the third book makes me want to sob. So I don't read it. All the third book makes me want to cry. Every single time I see Newt in the third book, I'm like, ah! That was a really ugly crying face, but I get so upset. I'm like, I'm gonna cry. It's awful. Because I love Newt. Newt is my favorite character. He's so amazing. He's like the Glade mother, and I love him with all my heart. He's my favorite. Also, Thomas Brody Sangster is so hot in the movies. Thomas Brody Sangster, if you're single, call me. I'm of legal age. Yeah, we can talk. Yeah. I love this book and this movie. As separate entities, like I said, you have to separate them. Because if you look at them as a book-to-movie adaptation, it's garbage. It's the worst book-to-movie adaptation, like, compared to, like, Percy Jackson level bad. But if you separate them, it's a pretty good movie. So yeah, that's my opinion. If you separate them, they're a pretty good movie. And pretty good books separately. But if you judge them together, the movies are trash. So yeah, I love The Maze Runner. Would literally die for Newt. I would die instead of him. And that's the thesis. Alright, we're on to our final series. This one's gonna be a little hard to hold, but I got it. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I love these books. My sophomore English teacher did this thing where it was like, it was like this weird acronym about how to choose a book, and we were supposed to pick out a book off of these stacks of books to read, and I found Cinder, and I took it back to my desk, and I did the 5 things of the acronym, and I was like, this actually seems like an interesting book to read. And I went up to my teacher and I said, hey, I actually really like to read this book. Can I borrow it? And she was like, yes. My voice just died randomly. I fucking hate my neighborhood. No one wants to listen to your shitty rap music. Sorry. I can't edit it out because I don't have any editing software, so you're going to have to deal with it. I'm sorry. I'm new to this. But I read the first book in like 2 days from my English teacher, and she was like, yeah, it's such a good book. You should totally read it. Yeah, you can totally borrow it. Like, read it. It's so good. And then I did, and I was like, this book is so good. My friends in middle school kept trying to get me to read it, but I was like, I don't know. It does sound so, I don't know. Then I read it in high school, and I was like, this is the best. My favorite, personally, is Cress, the girl on the satellite. She's my favorite, but Cinder's a close second. She is if you don't know what it's about, it's a sci-fi fairy tale retellings where Cinderella is a cyborg. She's part machine. She has a mechanical leg and a mechanical arm. It's so cool. And at the end, instead of losing her shoe, she loses her whole foot. It's so funny. And then Little Red Riding Hood, Scarlet, is a fighter pilot. She's a fucking fighter pilot for a spaceship. Like, that's so cool. And fucking Rapunzel lives in a satellite that orbits Earth. And she's a hacker. Like, it's the coolest and most creative thing ever. And Snow White's the princess of the moon. It's so cool. It's so cool. I only have this in hardback. The rest of them are in paperback, and it really annoys me. I know. It's annoying. But they're so good. And, like, Carswell Thorne and, like, Prince Kai. So fine. And there's so much representation. There's Asian representation, black representation. I can't remember if there's queer representation. I think there is. There's a ton of representation in this book. Like, it's amazing. Like, we should replace J.K. Rowling with Marissa Meyer. Marissa Meyer should be the new one that we're all obsessed with, because Marissa Meyer is literally amazing. She is so good. I love this writing. It's so entertaining. And, like, there's a plague happening, and, like, the prince has to marry the Empress of the Moon. Like, the Queen of the fucking Moon. The fucking moon. Like, the big rock in the sky. Like, there's people who live on the moon, and they have the power to manipulate brainwaves so you see stuff that aren't there. Or, like, you see something different than it actually is. Like, some people manipulate their appearance. Like, the queen manipulates her appearance to look different and look pretty every day. Like, it's so cool. It's one of my favorites, and you should definitely check it out. I am so passionate about it. It's so good. Ugh. All my friends who recommended it to me, thank you. I loved it so much. I literally had to buy the whole series. I even read the third one in the hospital, because I've been to the mental hospital a few times. Don't get me started on that. And the hospital had Crest there, so I literally read it in the hospital. And I got so annoyed when it was time for group therapy, and I was like, damn it, I want to keep reading Crest! Leave me alone! It was so funny. But I love this story. It's such a good story. And it has so many good values, and fucking androids, and cyborgs, and adventure, and moon people, and satellites with people inside them, and hackers, and fucking moon queens that can manipulate your brainwaves so that you see her as pretty. And you can, like, see her as, like, a girl with, like, a blunt bob with, like, fair skin. You can see her as Snow White, and then in the next second you can see her as fucking Elsa. Like, she can manipulate your brainwaves so you see something different. It's incredible. Like, Lavanna is such a bitch, but she's so badass. And then fucking Cinder comes in and is like, fuck you, bitch. I'm here to steal your throne. I'm the rightful princess. And it's so good. Well, that seems to be the end of my favorite books. So I will let you go here. But I really hope you enjoyed the longer video. I got on a little bit on a tangent over there. But I'm just really passionate about these books and series. But I really hope you enjoyed it. So I'll let you go now. Bye-bye.